Sensation. Now it's not just flamingos. Well, the Ukrainian armed forces have a new weapon. Ukraine has done something incredible. This weapon will bring Moscow to its knees. The Kremlin is already in a panic. They definitely didn't expect this. Let's go through everything step by step. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. Rinat Aslanov and the latest events. It has become known that the manufacturer of the Flamingo cruise missile plans to produce ballistic missiles as well. In addition to the Sapsan and Nezabarum, Ukraine may receive another domestically produced ballistic missile. This was reported by Militarny, citing a statement from a representative of the Ukrainian company Firepoint. This is the same company known for the Flamingo cruise missile. During an international exhibition in Poland, the company presented the technical specifications of two new domestically developed ballistic missiles, FP7 and FP9. It is expected that the FP7 will have a strike range of up to 200 kilometers with a circular error probable of 14 meters. Thus, its purpose is to provide operational strikes against targets at medium distances. The missile will reach a maximum speed of 1,500 meters per second, so the maximum flight duration will be 250 seconds. The launch of the FP7 missile will be carried out from a ground platform. As for the FP9 missile, it is designed as a much more powerful weapon intended to strike targets deep within enemy territory. Its flight range will be up to 855 kilometers at a speed of 2,200 meters per second. The maximum flight altitude is up to 70 kilometers. With a warhead weight of 800 kilograms, the missile will have a circular error probable of up to 20 meters. So Russia, get ready. But trouble for the Kremlin doesn't come alone. Not only missiles will be heading to the Russian Federation. Ukraine and the Philippines are preparing to sign an important memorandum on cooperation in the field of technology and defense. It is expected that the document, which in particular provides for the joint development and production of unmanned aerial vehicles, will be signed by the end of October. According to Ukraine's ambassador to the Philippines, Kyiv is actively developing various types of drones and is seeking partners around the world for joint projects. She called the Philippines the most reliable partner, emphasizing Kyiv's readiness to share its experience and technologies. In addition, last week, Ukraine's first non-resident defense attaché to the Philippines, Colonel Andriy Belenky, visited military facilities in Manila, including the headquarters of the Air Force, Army, and Navy. This indicates an active phase of negotiations and the interest of both sides in strengthening their defense partnership. And that's not all. A new photo of the Ukrainian counterpart to the UMPK, a Universal Planning and Correction Module, the so-called KABU. A photo taken under the wing of a MiG-29 of the Ukrainian Air Force quickly spread across the internet and sparked a whole wave of new theories and assumptions in society. What's more, even a video of this new Ukrainian superweapon was leaked online. In Russia, real panic broke out. Could this really be the combat use of a Ukrainian-made product? In the last 2 months since the first public appearance of the Ukrainian KAB, thanks to painstaking work on the navigation system, the required accuracy of hits has been achieved. They are now capable of striking targets at a range of up to 60 kilometers, and this parameter is planned to be increased to 80 kilometers. At the same time, we are talking about a kit for a bomb weighing 500 kilograms. It should be noted that visually, the Medoid device generally repeats the design of the Russian OMPK, which was done deliberately, as it is a pragmatic decision to copy what works for the enemy and is designed for mass production. At the same time, the internal components of the KABI are new, taking into account the possibilities of cooperation with foreign partners as well as our own production capabilities. As for the carrier of this long-range strike weapon, in the video of the range test at the end of June, the KABI was dropped from a Su-24M frontline bomber. But this aircraft is not supposed to be its standard carrier, or to be used only as a test platform. As carriers for the KAB, as well as other high-precision bombs of Western production, fighter jets are being considered. That's why the photo of the device, which is currently going viral online already on a MiG-29, is quite logical. There is also a likelihood that in the future installation will take place on the Su-27 as well. Or perhaps this is already happening right now. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drone manufacturers are not standing still either. According to Western sources, our production capacity has already reached the level of the Russian facility assembling Shaheds. And soon we can expect parity between both sides when it comes to strike drones. This is something important to know, as we'll discuss further in the story.
To catch up and surpass, Ukraine has reached a production pace of its own strike drones comparable to that of Russia. First and foremost, this refers to the latest long-range UAV, the FP1. According to the Associated Press, Ukraine has managed to scale up its production capacity and is now assembling about 100 drones per day. At the same time, the drone is significantly cheaper than the Shahed. One FP1 costs $55,000.
The overall technical specifications are not very different from those of the Shahed. Of course, it has a different design, but its function is the same, even though it can fly a bit farther and carry a slightly heavier payload, and is somewhat more advanced in terms of hitting a specific target accurately. There has not been a single instance where the FP1 accidentally struck civilian targets. That's why it's very convenient for understanding how to plan a mission, making it safe and highly accurate. And it's also 5 times cheaper than a Shahed, which is very useful for our Ukraine, which isn't that wealthy.
The secret is simple. Experts explain Ukraine lacks uninterrupted supplies of engines from Iran and China. We don't have the same production capacities as Russia, nor do we have as much money. Accordingly, our engineers have simplified everything as much as possible. With only one condition: the drone absolutely must reach and hit the intended target.
The structural frame of the FP1 drone is made of plywood elements milled on a laser machine. This is about a very cheap and mass-produced solution. The shell is then attached to this frame, featuring joints with slots and fasteners. For a kamikaze drone which is meant to make a single flight in its lifetime, ending with it simply crashing into the target and exploding, this is not just sufficient, it is the right approach.
At the same time, despite its outward simplicity, the FP1's internal components are quite advanced. The drone is equipped with a whole array of sensors and modules that help it navigate through enemy EW zones. It can identify the target and approach it along the most effective trajectory.
Ukraine has posed a number of challenges that have enabled the creation of unmanned systems meeting the demands of modern missiles. Systems that are accurate in their strikes, capable of bypassing enemy electronic warfare, and able to operate even without satellite navigation support. So here, in fact, we're talking about technological advancements that we've overcome and solutions we've proposed which allow us to operate deep within the territory of the Russian Federation.
Deep means about 1,600 kilometers. At the same time, the FP1 carries a rather powerful warhead over this distance, about 60 kilograms. There is also the possibility of increasing the amount of explosives to 120 kilograms by partially reducing the range.
This state-of-the-art drone can easily strike within the range of the Russian capital and even circle it 2 more times or around it. Moreover, a range of 1,600 kilometers makes such remote regions of Russia as Udmurtia, Tatarstan, Samara Oblast, Orenburg, Vologda, Kostroma, Perm Krai, Bashkortostan, Yekaterinburg, and even Murmansk Oblast accessible to Ukrainian defense forces. There aren't enough fingers on your hands to count them all. In other words, we understand that Putin's attempts to move his drone or missile production plants further from the border didn't save him.
At the same time, as noted in the Financial Times article, FPV is far from the only Ukrainian strike drone that hits targets in Russia every night. Combined with the number of other UAVs produced, the total is quite impressive.
Meanwhile, the Flamingo missile has already managed to cause panic in Russia. At the end of August, Ukraine used these winged missiles for the first time. Initially, it was reported that Ukrainian Neptune cruise missiles struck Russian military targets in occupied Crimea. In particular, 6 military boats were damaged near the village of Voloshin in the Karmyansk area. However, it was later revealed that the strike was actually carried out by Flamingo missiles, not Neptune. So what is important to know about this missile? More details in the report.
With a warhead weighing a ton and a flight range of well over 1,000 kilometers. Ukrainian photographer Yefrem Lukatsky, who collaborates with the Associated Press, published photos of the new Ukrainian long-range Flamingo missile.
Flamingo missiles produced in Ukraine and with a range of over 3,000 kilometers have entered mass production. The photo shows the workshop of one of the country's leading defense companies, Firepoint, at an undisclosed location in Ukraine.
The caption under the photo states that it was taken on August 14th in the workshop of the Firepoint Defense Company. In the photo, the missiles in the workshop are already prepared for shipment. It appears that the Flamingo may be in serial production, according to Ukrainian official sources. There have long been hints in the missile sector that the Ukrainian defense industry is preparing a major long-range surprise for the Russians. And judging by everything, Flamingo is exactly the surprise that was being talked about. According to military analysts, the missile is very simple to produce. And that's exactly what Ukraine needs right now.
That's great news. The missile really is simple. It can't be compared to things like the Storm Shadow, the Scalp, and so on. But in this case, we don't need very complex guidance systems. Modern American or British missiles have visual guidance systems that can home in on infrared images even when various anti-missile countermeasures are used. In this case, we don't need that. Pavlo Narozhny, military expert.
All currently known and available facts strongly indicate that the so-called Flamingo is, in actual reality, the already well-known FP5 cruise missile from the Millennium Group. The visual appearance and detailed description of these missiles are indeed identical in every significant aspect.
More than 50 such missiles can be produced each month. This, of course, is explained by the right approach, where in favor of mass production, such complexities as launching from a transport launch container and a folding wing were sacrificed. At the same time, this comes at the cost of a relatively long pre-launch preparation time of 20 to 40 minutes. But with such capabilities, the FP5 is a completely effective trade-off. The company also stated that the missile uses satellite navigation that is resistant to electronic warfare, as well as an inertial system, according to Defense Express.
The warhead of the Flamingo is 1 ton. This is twice as powerful as the American Tomahawk. And most importantly, it is designed for mass production. Russia systematically tries to destroy the Ukrainian defense industry, and Ukraine needs to act in the same way, focusing on destroying the Russian military-industrial complex.
And it is enormous in size. And for most of these factories, we see that we can hit them with cheap drones that fly not at 1,000 kilometers per hour like this missile, but at a speed of 200-250 kilometers per hour. So right now we need a large number of inexpensive means that can effectively destroy the Russian economy and defense industry. And this missile is capable of doing that. Pavlo Narozhny, military expert.
Kyiv has not made any official statements about the new long-range Flamingo missile, and in this case most likely won't. Everyone will simply see the results of the Flamingo strike on Russian military factories.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now. Ukraine has become the first country in the world to use artificial intelligence to coordinate swarms of drones on the battlefield. This new and valuable technology could become a driving force in modern warfare, allowing dozens or even thousands of drones to work together to overcome enemy defenses. Military experts are calling this the next stage of drone warfare. More details in the following report.
Swarms of drones equipped with artificial intelligence have already entered the battlefield. At this new frontier of military operations, Ukraine is using technology that allows groups of drones to communicate and make decisions independently of their operator.
According to Western journalists, Ukraine is employing artificial intelligence in military operations so that groups of drones can coordinate their actions to attack well-defended Russian positions. Military experts claim that operations involving large and small groups of drones represent a new stage in the war. Such innovations make it possible to deploy dozens or even thousands of drones simultaneously to overcome any air defense systems, whether it's a city or a specific military facility.
If it becomes possible to scale up production and there are so-called swarm attacks, that is, when a swarm is flying, it's clear that you can shoot down part of the swarm, but you can't shoot down all 100 drones flying at the same time. Well, in this case, there will be major disruptions to the energy system, significant disruptions to the transportation system, and the destruction of normal life will begin. We actually saw this year with air transport, and now we're seeing it with railways. This drone war has made Russia weak. It's impossible to deploy air defense systems everywhere. There simply aren't that many.
This innovative technology is a harbinger of the future of warfare. Analysts confirm this. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian company that developed the unique software is lifting the veil of secrecy about what can be expected from the new military development. It turns out that a swarm of strike drones acts like a living organism. It analyzes what is happening in real time and makes decisions based on the situation.
The drones can decide which one will strike first and adapt to the circumstances. For example, if one of them runs out of battery power, Ukrainian soldiers began using this technology about a year ago to lay mines. Since then, it has been used to strike Russian military equipment and infrastructure.
And, it must be admitted, they use it extremely effectively. In the Kremlin, just hearing the phrase drone swarm makes their knees tremble. Even the enemy admits that they simply have nothing to counter such advanced Ukrainian weaponry.
It really is impressive.
By the way, if something goes wrong during such an autonomous operation, the system immediately hands control over to a human operator. Fortunately, another cutting-edge Ukrainian technology promises to help with this. The Kolibri 13 FR1. This is a so-called relay drone for FPV, featuring autonomous navigation and resistance to electronic warfare. It's a cheap alternative to the Chinese DJI, which is widely used at the front.
At the beginning of the Russian invasion, Russia was striking with missiles and drones almost unopposed across Ukrainian territory, and Ukraine couldn't respond. There was practically nothing to respond with, almost nothing to strike Russian territory. But now, as they say, the situation has changed. Now Ukraine has drones that are taking out Russian industry. Ukraine has acquired long-range missiles, but as Putin says, the special military operation is going according to plan. Apparently, this is also part of the plan.
The new domestically produced UAV is not just a drone, it's an entire system that includes 2 relay carrier vehicles, a ground control station, and additional antennas. This approach makes it possible to ensure a stable communication channel at the tactical level. The drone's design is modular, which allows for quick replacement of damaged components right on the battlefield. Among the advantages of the Ukrainian Kolibri are its resistance to strong winds, low temperatures, and the ability to operate both during the day and at night. And
When they are taught to interact with each other, when they are taught to guide each other to targets or to cover one another, so to speak, then, as we see, even before all those Chinese shows where drones perform all sorts of beautiful figures in the sky, they are already doing the same thing. Only in war, of course, it will be pure horror, and it's hard to imagine how you could defend yourself against this if drones are taught to think, so to speak, and to make decisions on their own. Especially if drones are taught to make decisions independently. That would be an absolute nightmare, truly terrifying.
how does the Kremlin respond to all this? Instead of developing new types of air defense systems, Putin is putting all the efforts of the Russian defense industry into creating more and more methods of terror. In particular, he is actively improving his Shahed drones, teaching them to strike residential buildings of peaceful Ukrainians as accurately as possible. This unpleasant news was recently shared with us by a military radio technology specialist with the call sign Flash. According to him, Russian mopeds have recently become much more dangerous and deadly.
A fresh find just now, as you can see, antennas are installed on the edges, there are chrome modems and cameras. Unfortunately, it's not even possible to find any remains from Gerber as they break apart and burn. For those who don't know, this is a new version of the Shahed, which can be controlled online from Russia, can conduct reconnaissance, and can even attack moving targets.
However, it's worth giving credit to the Ukrainian defense industry, which began working on improving Ukraine's air defense system long before this. By staying ahead of the enemy, our engineers are already actively developing our own analog of the HIMARS. The foreign missile system has proven its effectiveness on the battlefield, demonstrating high accuracy and the ability to operate at long distances. This is exactly what we need for Ukraine. Our own analog of American weaponry not only means reducing dependence on Allied supplies, but also the ability to adapt the system to modern warfare conditions and the specifics of combat operations. For now, the technical specifications of the Ukrainian system have not been disclosed, but experts suggest that it is a wheeled platform with high mobility, capable of launching guided missiles at distances of hundreds of kilometers. So it's about time for the occupiers to start preparing for new surprises from the Ukrainian armed forces.
Officially, the US has approved the sale of more than 3,000 missiles to Ukraine. This has never happened before. Where will these powerful missiles be able to reach? And how might they change the course of the war? Watch this report.
an American greeting for Ukraine's Independence Day. Following the Kellogg's Cat, American cruise missiles are heading to Ukraine.
It is an honor for me to present you with this award. Thank you.
According to the White House, the Trump administration approved the sale to Ukraine of more than 3,000 extended-range air-to-air missiles, as well as current ones.
It should be noted that neither the Pentagon nor the White House has officially confirmed the information about the sale of air-to-air missiles to Ukraine, which, according to media reports, are to be delivered to Ukraine within the next 6 weeks. Therefore, we can say that this is what is called controlled information disclosure. In other words, when the Russian Federation is made aware of the plans of the White House administration.
A few days earlier, Russian terrorists launched a missile strike on a factory belonging to an American company in western Ukraine. Essentially, Putin nullified Trump's statements that the presence of American business in Ukraine is in itself a guarantee of security.
What did you say to Vladimir Putin regarding yesterday's strike on the American factory in Ukraine?
I told him that I am not happy about this. I am not happy about anything that is happening in this war.
After some time, the President of the United States made an important statement. Donald Trump admitted that Ukraine cannot win the war by only defending itself.
It is very difficult, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking the aggressor country. It's like a great sports team with a fantastic defense not being allowed to play offense. They have no chance of winning. It's the same with Ukraine and Russia. The dishonest and very incompetent Joe Biden did not allow Ukraine to strike back, but only allowed them to defend themselves. And what came of it?
According to experts, the supply of long-range aviation missiles and, in Trump's view, the demonstrated inability to negotiate with the Russian dictator was a logical response.
In other words, what we call a alert, that is, a retaliatory strike from the United States. Moreover, I do not rule out that simultaneously, in parallel, there could actually be the delivery of certain munitions, and there may soon be authorization for a corresponding strike on the territory of the Russian Federation.
I will include the Air Force in the supply of American air-to-surface missiles, which, as reported, have been paid for by Ukraine's European allies. There is a large quantity of them, specifically 350 missiles, with a strike range of up to 450 kilometers.
A range of 450 kilometers covers virtually all the rear infrastructure of the Russian occupation army, specifically in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Additionally, if permission is granted to use them against targets within the territory of the Russian Federation, it would cover the entire rear logistics of the Russian army. And accordingly, legitimate military targets on the territory of the Russian Federation are significantly affected, which essentially matches the tactical and technical characteristics of American ATACMS missiles.
The combination of the number and range of the ERAM missiles suggests that, unlike the scarce Storm Shadow and ATACMS, these missiles can be used much more frequently, including for pinpoint strikes against enemy fighters, bombers, and the launchers of the invading army.
First and foremost, as of today, former airfield-based targets will receive increased attention from Ukraine's defense forces. Additionally, launch sites as well as UAV launch locations and, accordingly, cruise and ballistic missiles on the territory of the Russian Federation will also be targeted.
And what do you think about the new Ukrainian weapon? Share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and stay updated on the main news. There's more to come.